Hello, good morning. I hope this podcast finds you well. Welcome to the Dante Elephante podcast. It's Monday, 12/21/2020, and I feel pretty fucking weird, man. I don't know. This week has been a weird one. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. I don't know if I'm even gonna go into what's going on in my personal life right now, but at the moment I feel healthy. I think everyone else around me feels healthy, and I'm gonna just stay on the good vibes. Okay, today is episode 46 with Will Loomis. Will Loomis is this dude in town in Santa Barbara. This is a very Santa Barbara episode. We filmed this at a park a few weeks ago, and this, if you notice in the last episode with Gold Connections, it was a little behind. Obviously, I booked these kind of far in advance, and Gold Connections was like right after the election, and we were talking about the election, but now it's like December. We're getting close to Christmas and the new year, and I'm still talking about the election, but I don't know. You know how it goes, man. I'm finally caught up. I did really well. I booked really well in October, and I had a bunch of people like, Hot Flash Heatwave, go listen to that episode. The Chris Cohen episode, thank you to everyone who was listening to that episode. Jerry Paper. It was just like one after the other. I was able to book some great guests and great people I've always wanted to talk to and people I'm friends with. Yeah, it's been exciting, and I'm working on guests for next year. Thanks to all the people who've been emailing me. I've been getting a lot of emails about just people who wanna hop on the show, and I'm cool with that, man. That's what I'm here for. I live for this shit. Last week, I asked you guys to send me some voicemails. If you want to call me on the phone, you can now call me on the phone at 805-316-4717. I am going to play a voicemail right now. Thank you guys so much. This is hilarious.
I have an anonymous joke for you. Which reindeer of Santa's reindeers has the loneliest birthday? You may think it's Rudolph, but nobody wants to go to a Donner Party.
We love it. We live for the dad jokes. If you just want to call and talk, you can honestly talk about anything, man. You can be happy, sad, weird. I got a lot of weird ones. People love beef, and that's cool. People love meat, and that's also cool. But yeah, that's what I've gotten so far. I'm gonna save some of these other ones for a guest, and moving on. 805-316-4717 if you want to call me on the phone and just leave an anonymous voicemail. I don't use them for anything else but the podcast, and if you're interested in supporting the podcast, of course, go to patreon.com/Dante Elephante. I'm putting DJ mixes, Dante Elephante breakdowns, and giving shout outs on this podcast. Shout out to Andrew E. Roth and Ashley Brinkley for supporting the whole year. You guys have been doing. I've started the Patreon around March, right when the lockdown happened. So thank you guys so much for supporting the whole year. And I'm gonna have to get your guest list on the show once we start doing shows again. Y'all will get in for free. Don't worry. I'll make sure to come to your town. I will purposely come to your town now. But yeah, other than that, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling weird. I'm feeling fun and loose. A couple things popped up this week. The new Beatles album. Not a Beatles album, a new Paul McCartney album. And a new Beatles clip dropped last night, at midnight. And of course, because I'm awake at fucking midnight, I could not sleep last night. Then, very excited. The footage, let's just start with the Paul McCartney album. The Paul McCartney album, I had high hopes for. And I saw some people bashing it online. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take my time. I saw some people's tweets online. I don't even want to pay attention to people's tweets. I'm going to listen to this on my own and just soak it in and really listen to everything he's doing. And I'm telling you, it's his best work in years. I like it way better than Egypt Station. My problem with Egypt Station was it felt like somebody else's hands were touching his songs, and that's not right. I just want to hear Paul McCartney songs, not Paul McCartney with 7 other writers, and this is what's cool right now. Paul, you gotta write a melody like this. No one should be telling Paul McCartney how to write fucking melodies, all right? There's maybe one dud on the album, one song. I'm not listening to that shit again, to be honest. But most of the record's great, man. It's awesome. It's like the second half of the record as it closes out is really like, okay, yeah, that's like that's some Beatles shit. And I saw that interview he did with Chris Rock where he basically said that he doesn't want to make Beatles sounding music. And it's like, dude, that's what we're here for. Don't you know that's what we all want? Just give us a Beatles record, man. But honestly, if you've listened to McCartney 1 or McCartney 2, this record kind of falls in line. It's a lot of jams. It's a lot of what the fuck is he doing right here? A lot of like, what is going on? I wish the snare tones were a little better, but that's just because I'm an asshole. Other than that, like I thought the record sounded great. There's a few moments with the snare that I'm like, oh, I wish he would have gotten a little deader tone, maybe worked on that snare a little bit more. But it's, it's fine. It's like Paul McCartney by himself, recording by himself, writing by himself. I'll take it. And if he writes like a 7-minute song a fucking jam, then I guess we have to accept it. These are the things we accept in life. We accept that Paul McCartney's going to jam for 7 minutes, 6 to 7 minutes on one song. But it's great, man. I'm stoked on it. And I'm glad that we live in the time where we get a McCartney 3. We didn't have to get him. He could have done one in 1990 or in the year 2000, even the year 2010, but he didn't. 2020, what a weird time. I like that he's calling it the rock down. It's like, okay, all right, that's like very grandpa shit. Some people call it the lockdown, we call it the rock down. I think that shit is hilarious. Paul is such a grandpa, but hey, it's awesome. I'm stoked on it. Plus then Peter Jackson last night around like 12 midnight dropped like a can't call it a trailer. It's just like a spirit montage. Like this is kind of the vibe we're getting from a lot of these clips, and it's looks insane. The footage looks amazing. I don't know what they did to remaster this like film, but it looks so fucking good. And it's I'm very excited for this Beatles movie. I hope I can see it in theaters next year when it comes out. It better be in theaters. Like I don't want to see this like on fucking Disney Plus. That's gonna break my heart. I want to see it big and loud, and I want to cry in the movie theaters. That's my goal, at least. That's what I really want for that project. And my experience with that project is crying in a movie theater. Yeah, I'm excited though. This is like, I've never seen footage like this before. It's all the original footage. Like the Let It Be movie isn't even like widely available, and it looks like shit on YouTube. So I saw a copy of the Let It Be movie on VHS in Chicago when I was playing Chicago last year in the winter, but I think they wanted like $80 for it, and I didn't have it. Fuck, I should have just spent the $80 and figured out how to eat. But I don't know. The way that tour ended, I would have been like looking at that VHS like, what the fuck do I need the $80? Maybe I would have regretted it, but maybe I wouldn't have. Who knows? Yeah. But it looks amazing. I can't wait to watch that shit. Go watch it now. Don't stop the podcast, but go watch it now. It looks so good. It's one thing I will say, and I was talking to Glossy's Eric Tompkinson about this earlier, is that there's 2 sessions, right? Now I'm going deep into the Beatles shit. There's 2 sessions. There's the sessions of the Let It Be where they're fighting, and it's like the multicolored background, and apparently they woke up early in the morning and it was freezing, and they spent like 10 days at the studio trying to get these tracks done. And then there was the overdub sessions where Billy Preston was brought in. And from everything I've read, and even there's a George Harrison audio interview, you can hear him say this. It was like everyone was on their best behavior when Billy Preston came into the studio. So that's what we're seeing. I don't know. We'll see how they edit it, because the whole thing is like, oh, everyone acted like that session was so bad, but it looks like they're having a good time. And it's like, well, it looks like they're showing a lot of the footage from when they did have a good time. Who knows how negative the original footage from the first session, when they're in the warehouse with the multicolored backgrounds. I saw some footage in there of them jamming, but that's where the negativity was. So I wonder if they're going to show a lot of footage from that first session, or just keep it at the second session where everyone was having a good time. Billy Preston was there. It's a weird feeling when a band's like arguing and there's like negative vibes. Sometimes when somebody else comes into the room, I remember our band was like arguing a lot on that last tour, but like when Paul Cherry came and saw us in Chicago, we were all in a good mood and having a good time. But in reality, we were all fighting on that tour. Like, what? It didn't end after we left Chicago. So it's like usually when you bring a new entity, an exciting outside person in, it's like, oh, everyone be nice, be happy. Like, but sometimes you're just fucking pissed, and sometimes you're just fighting, and that's what I'm kind of getting from this Beatles footage, is that we're gonna see the happy part where it was like kind of like a little reunion with Billy Preston, which is good. I don't want to think of the Beatles as them fighting and arguing in the studio. I want them, having a good time. I want to see John Lennon smiling. Is that so hard? I want to see him smiling. I want to see George Harrison smiling, having fun in the studio, making a great fucking record, a really great rock and roll record. I also want to see the mics they use. I want to see the placements. That's just me. I want to see the mics they use, the placements, some of the gear they're using. Obviously, all vintage, old gear you cannot get your hands on, and if you do, it's expensive, but like, I want to see it. I'm envious. I look at their recording studio and just the space, not even like the gear. I just like how they can all sprawl in a big room. Every time we record, it's always a cramped space. Everyone's stepping on top of each other. Like, I love the huge ceilings. Everyone's got their own little snook, little corner, little cranny. I have my amp. I'm sitting here. We're all just, yeah. I appreciate the space. I'm most jealous of the space. But, it's great. I'm excited for that. Those are my big two things of what happened last week and what happened last night. That I've stayed up and it actually maybe put me to sleep in a good mood. Christmas is this Thursday. Very exciting. I love Christmas. I did a Christmas mix on the Patreon where I took some phone calls. No, I didn't take any phone calls for the Christmas mix, but I took some phone calls and for the other Patreon mix, and it was just fun. It was just, it hasn't felt very Christmassy. I bought some of those cinnamon pine cones from Vaughn's, and all it did was turn the nasty smell of my room into a cinnamony nasty smell. It just blended all the smells together, and that's what I have so far. But yeah, Christmas is always great. I love opening up the tamales, the Christmas. I love giving the presents. I don't know. I find giving to be as pleasurable as the receiving. What is that? I don't know. Maybe that's something you get as you get older. Because when I was younger, I really didn't like the idea of buying people gifts. I'm like, this just takes so much money and so much time. But I'm realizing now that it feels good. It feels good to like really think about what they want and get them a good gift instead of just like, I bought you a candle. Unless they want a candle, but like most of the time I'm just like, here's a candle, here's some lotion, here's just some things I think you guys would want, instead of really thinking about them and listening to what they tell me throughout the year. And if there's any little notes, anything that they like mention to me throughout the year, I will take a mental note. Oh, maybe they need that. My sister always talks to me about makeup, so maybe I should get her makeup. Or at least a Sephora gift card. Something weird like that, something weird. That's not that weird, but it's weird to me. But yeah, just taking little mental notes of things they've said or things I think they may want or need. My little sister's going to college, so I got her something for college. I'm not going to say because this will come out tomorrow. This will come out on Tuesday, and then that blows the Christmas gift, but I will tell you guys about it next week. I'm liking these intros. I feel like it's keeping the podcast a little more up to date versus when you hear a podcast and we're talking about the fucking election, which is now over, and everyone's like, what? This is like fucking old. Now we're new. Now we're young. We're fresh. We're young, and we're hip. I still have some t-shirts available. Hello Merch. I put the link in the description. If you're listening to just the audio, go to Hello Merch. Oh my God, you can hear my speech impediment. HelloMerch.com, and then search for Dante Elephante, and you can find the one shirt. I'm working on crew necks, hoodies, beanies, stuff like that. Hopefully, I can get more merch built out, and we'll have some more options. But right now, we got the one shirt designed by Aaron Lowell Denton, and it's fucking awesome. My album comes out January 8th. That's next month. We got like 2 weeks away until the record comes out. January 8th, 2021. Start the year off right. For everyone who has already pre-ordered the album, thank you. For the people who are finding out about Dante Elephante, the band, through the podcast, Amazing. Thank you so much. Like, I'm glad you enjoy me talking to your favorite bands and finding out about my music. And I hope my fans who are listening to the Dante Elephante podcast learn. Like, I've had a few people be like, "Oh, I just found out about Video Age because of you." It's like, that's the community that we're trying to build, is that you come on here, my fans listen to you, your fans listen to me, we're sharing, and it's not about a competition. I'm done with competitions, man. This whole competitive nature of the music industry is so fucked, and I'm so over it, and it's so boring that I just want to do something that's good for everyone, and good for me. And especially this year is so weird. I never thought this year was going to turn, nobody thought this year was going to be this way, but like being able to do this podcast and connect with people has really been great for my mental health, and has kept me motivated where I haven't felt motivated in other ways. I've written like a couple songs this year, but it's not a lot. But like Chris Cohen said, it's not about the number. It's about we want to write good songs, not a lot of songs. And for me, that's where I'm at right now. I want to write good songs, not a lot of them. All right, Will Loomis is on the podcast. Will and I go back a very long time. He's had some legal issues in the past that he gets into right away. One of his songs was stolen, allegedly. I don't even know. I'm guessing allegedly he sued Dr. Luke for plagiarizing one of his songs for Jesse J. That was a 3-year litigation that resulted in him getting fucking. You'll hear about it. Yeah. You'll hear about it. And so Dr. Luke, obviously known plagiarist, big member, him and Max Martin writing songs together, stealing songs from smaller bands and giving them to larger bands. Like they stole the Yeah Yeah Yeahs maps for Kelly Clarkson. I mentioned that in the podcast, and it's just like a lot of different issues like that, and it's not right for these people to think that they can. Who knows? I swear to God, I keep my ear out all the time because I swear, Call Me on the Phone is gonna get fucking ripped off. It's going to. I don't know when, and I'm not gonna have money to fight it. It's just gonna be what it is. But I will sue when that day comes. But I don't know. Who knows? They're going to be like, oh, that's a cool song. It doesn't even have like 1 million plays. Oh, no one even knows who the fuck it is. But they'll just steal it and give it to somebody else, and they'll change it just a little bit. And I'll know. And I'll keep my ear out for that moment. I think we'll see. Who knows? But if they want to, I will sell that song if anyone wants to buy it. If BTS wants to sing Call Me on the Phone, hell yeah, let's talk. But you can't just steal some shit. And Dr. Luke is a known thief who this year was nominated for a Grammy for some song that I'm not paying attention to the Grammys. The Grammys are this weekend. I'm not even fucking paying attention. But Fiona Apple has boycotted the Grammys because of Dr. Luke, so she won't be there. So if you were excited to see Fiona Apple, she will not be there at the Grammys because of Dr. Luke's just presence or the fact that he was nominated. He's an asshole. And yeah, the Grammys. Fuck the Grammys. He is his father-in-law is the lead singer of Motley Crue. I was at their wedding. I saw Vince Neil at that wedding. They had an Elvis impersonator. Well, you know what? I'm not going to steal these stories. Will Loomis is on the podcast today. He'll tell you these stories. It was a great time. You notice the second half of the podcast is missing video because I'm an idiot. Just enjoy. I'm really sorry. That's on me. Okay, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good day. Okay, dude, Will Loomis. How are you, man?
Fine, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. Yeah, it's been nice. It's nice to not do this on Zoom. I'm done with the fucking Zoom. Yeah. Of course, I have like 2 podcasts I'm doing on Zoom this week, but like, yeah. Emotionally, I'm done. Whew. Yeah, man. So I guess we should start from the top.
Maybe I should like speed run through who I am because most people don't know.
Sure.
Okay. Just musically.
Yeah.
All right. So I started playing guitar when I was like 7 or 8. I started pretty young, and I really loved Elvis, and I saw one of the Back to the Future movies where Michael J. Fox is like shredding that Johnny B. Good song.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, whatever that is, I have to learn how to do that. And so yeah, and I kind of dabbled in bands like even as a little kid. Like I had a band called the Third Grade Thunderbolts.
Nice.
And then I had a band in 5th grade called Mud Puddle.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with Puddle of Mud.
Yeah. Classic.
And then, but the thing that like hooked me, like I feel like a lot of musicians have this moment that hooks them like a drug, was in high school. I was going to Kate's school, you know, that school in Carpinteria.
Yeah.
It's like a small private school.
Mm-hmm.
And I just transferred there. It was like my senior year of high school. Transferred there, didn't know anybody, was kind of shy, had like 1 or 2 friends, and they had like a thing called like a coffee house, which was basically like a talent show kind of thing where everyone gets up and does something. And that was the first time like I really tried to like sing and play guitar in front of an audience. And it went really well. And we were just doing cover songs. Like we covered Knocking on Heaven's Door.
Yeah.
And I did some like Jimmy Page solo or something. And, but yeah, we got like a standing ovation, and, you know, one of the popular girls wanted to like date me after. And I was like, this is awesome. And that kind of just hooked me. And then, so fast forwarding, I was in my 2nd year of college and trying to start a band. In hindsight, I wish I had gone to like an art school or something, because everyone I was trying to start a band with at like this regular university was they didn't want to do it seriously or full time. They were on some track to be like pre-med or pre-law or something. And I was just like, all I want to do is start like a serious band. So I dropped out and I started working with this drummer, and you know, we had to figure out a way to record ourselves in our garage. So I got like a Pro Tools LE rig, and that was like my first thing. I started learning how to like record as well as perform, and I started taking like baby steps into writing songs, because before that I was always like guitar focused, so I'd always think about riffs, not about lyrics. And my taste in bands were like, who has the best guitar riffs, you know, not really like what bands do I really like the lyrics of. So it wasn't until like my early 20s that I started thinking about like, fuck, how do I write lyrics? And then I started this band Loomis and the Lust, and we got kind of popular locally in like 2008, 2009. We started playing. You remember Muddy Waters?
Yeah.
That was a great.
Yeah.
That was a great venue.
Yeah, man. I remember Muddy Waters. R.I.P.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, I played the last night of Muddy Waters.
Oh,
The final night when it was just like, Bill's like, if you want to come over,
that's awesome.
there's a guitar, sing if you want. I was like, yeah, sure, why not?
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had some success. Like we got an MTV back when MTV was like still a thing.
Yeah, totally.
And we did some touring, and then we made that mistake that I feel like a lot of bands, maybe not a lot of bands, but some bands make, where we got to work with like a fancy music producer, and he was like, okay, we need to like clean up your sound, and we need to like bring in a session drummer, and we need to do this and that. And we sounded, I think, better just raw. Kind of like MC5, their live album sounds better than when they're in the studio. And it kind of put cracks in the band, because band wasn't happy with it. Some of them didn't get to play on the record, and I was just going along with whatever this guy said. So that was kind of a lesson that I learned the hard way, which is like, don't let someone else come in and like overproduce you or break up your band, essentially. So then the band kind of broke up after that. And then, then there's like, this dark chapter that involves a lawsuit. That was like a really painful kind of chapter for me, but I was thinking on the car ride over here that I should like touch on it, because I feel like there's things people can learn, like other musicians might learn. So we had our single in like 2009 was called Bright Red Chords, and we had some placements and some radio play. It got on a few TV shows like Degrassi, like a Canadian soap opera that had Drake in it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it had like some placement. It got in a really bad movie, movie 43.
Okay.
The Farley Brothers movie.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It had a bunch of stars in it, but it was really bad. And I went to see it with my girlfriend, who later became my wife, and we're sitting in the movie theater, just waiting for my song to play.
Yeah.
And these two characters are talking about pooping on each other, and my song starts playing in the background. We just started laughing our asses off, and I just went, my work is being tucked underneath this bad fucking joke about, scatological humor.
Yeah, literally shitting on your work.
Literally
shit on your
but
work.
we just laughed. I mean, it was
Yeah,
still an experience.
So what's that movie? Movie 43?
Movie 43.
Okay,
I don't recommend it, but yeah,
I will fucking watch that now. Holy shit.
And Farley Brothers, I will accept more movie placements from you. I think I made like seriously $300 off that, but some of the TV placements I got paid better. That's one of the few times I've made any money in music was from TV placements.
Yeah, did you guys have a company working with you, or how'd you get those placements?
I had just kind of a generic music publishing company. Like it was called Triple Scoop Music.
Did they reach out to you?
That one I actually, Degrassi, I don't know how I got, in Movie 43 they reached out to me, but NCIS LA, I got like a nice like check for that one, and that was because I knew this guy Jay Ferguson in Santa Barbara who was like music supervising for it, and he liked my band, and so he hooked us up. Yeah, which seems like how a lot of things get done in the music industry, who you know, and then
It's crazy. Yeah, I think a lot of people listen. Obviously, a lot of people listen to this band or in bands or fans of the artist I'm talking to. But like that whole world of sync is like, how do you even do that? Like a lot of people have questions. So that's why I'm wondering, like, how does that even happen? I was approached for an ad recently that I turned down, but like, how the fuck does that kind of stuff even happen? So,
yeah, it's not all like. I think people assume that it's like this meritocracy when not necessarily. It's a lot of it is like it seems like who you're friends with and who can hook you up and doing each other favors. But so now we get into the painful chapter that I'm just gonna like quickly kind of go over because I think there's lessons in it. So after we did that record with that fancy producer, my original band kind of split up. Went different ways, and I don't really blame them. And so I kind of hired Slash. Some guys I'd pay, and other guys were just in it. But one of the guys that I hired was this guy Casey Hooper, who's just an amazing guitar player, and we played a few shows with him. Actually, at Muddy Waters, he was playing in a really cool band called Django James and the Midnight Squires. I don't know if you remember those guys. They were more of L.A. band, but so anyway, we're touring and stuff, and Casey gets like poached. He gets like talent scouted by Katy Perry, who's also like Santa Barbara connection. And so he starts playing in her band, and then this guy that was kind of like road managing kind of for us, he starts working with Dr. Luke's vocal producer named Emily Wright.
People don't know Dr. Luke is I guess you could call him a songwriter.
So it's interesting. Producer. Like Dr. Luke and Max Martin, I think they're both Swedish. I know Max Martin's Swedish, but they have they had this monopoly on American pop songs for the longest period of time.
15 years.
I would say like 2006 to like 2015.
But Max was also writing stuff in the late 90s for NSYNC.
For like Britney Spears. Yeah. So like, it's crazy that between the two of them, they're doing like most of the pop songs you heard. And that's why a lot of pop music sounded the same in that like long period of time. But anyway, I think Max Martin's talented, but Dr. Luke has been sued so many times for just ripping people off. And unfortunately, I was like one of his victims. And his favorite thing to do is like MO is like, he tends to rip off like obscure bands that were kind of like almost famous or like regionally famous or you know,
Something.
had some success, but wouldn't be big enough to really challenge him in court. And I've talked to some of the bands that he's ripped off since. And so for example, this one band, Asphalt, had a hit, and their chorus went, "It feels like tonight, da 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 da," and he had a song that he wrote for Daughtry, like some American Idol winner, and it was literally just "feels like tonight," like same lyrics, same everything. So for me, Dr. Luke was working for Jessie J, who's kind of like the UK, or was the UK version of Katy Perry, and they ripped off the verse melody of Bright Red Chords, to where we had like a musicologist in this lawsuit, we like line it up, and the notes are exactly like the same, save for a few embellishments.
Yeah.
And then I had these points of access, because you have to prove that it's similar or identical in places, and you also have to prove that they could have heard it. And that's what like the access part of that is. And one of the things that helped me was I copyrighted my song, and that protects you in some ways, but not really in others. Like people can still steal it. It just helps you a little bit.
What's the process of copywriting for people out there? Is that just something you can do online?
Yeah, it's something you can do online, and there's like a government form called like a sound recording form, and you just fill it out and you send in your song. You pay like $50 to the government, and they copyright it. Yeah, but if you per batch actually.
Okay, so you could do your whole record for $50.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah.
So hold on. So I was going to Musicians Institute in Hollywood at the time. It was like 2011. I was studying music production and engineering, because my band had kind of broken up, and I was like, okay, why don't I love recording other people. I've been doing it for a while because I built a little studio at home. Why don't I kind of study how to work on the other side of the glass? So, because I love like production. I love good producers like Tony Visconti, Mutt Lange is one of my music producer heroes. He's for those of you that don't know, he produced AC/DC's Back in Black album. I'm trying to think of more great producers, but anyway, there's a lot of good ones out there. But Dr. Luke's not one of them. So anyway, so I got this I got this email from a kid in Albany, New York, who had found one of our Loomis and the Lust CDs in his record bin, and his like used like record bin at his record store in Albany. And he wrote me an email, and he was like, "I just want you to know your song's getting ripped off by this pop star in the UK named Jessie J." And I listened to it, and I was like, wow, that is really similar. And I showed my boss at the time, because I was working at I was going to MI, and I was working at a studio, and he was like, "Look, man, I know you're kind of a laid back guy, but you really need to like sue these people, because that's a steal." So then I went to like the MI like music business school, where they have some lawyers and stuff. I got hooked up with lawyers on contingency, which is like, if you win the case, you get 40%, or they get 40% of the I don't know, the winning money. The
money they owe you.
Yeah. And so I didn't have to pay up front, and so we did that, and it was kind of a nightmare, because Universal has obviously like the biggest and the best lawyers, and they would do like kind of harassing things, like require all these things in discovery, and they would depose me, and they were just really like, it was just kind of a nightmare. Also, when the news of the lawsuit became public, like the media tended to side with Jessie J, because and all these people were like, "Well, you're not famous. Who are you? You're just jealous. Like if you were any good, you would be as famous as she is." And it's like, that's not how this shit works. But anyway, so it traumatized me. It like freaked me out. And the case dragged on. And
how long was this case?
So it was like 2011, 2012. And then it finally ended in like 2013.
Oh, wow.
Because I did an appeal. But what happened was Universal's musicologists that they use over and over again, their paid expert, he misaligned the bars. So so my intro is longer than Jesse J's, but he started them from the same point. So when the notes on the graph lined up, they were different.
Off. Yeah.
He did like shit like that, like where he would just lie. And then they kind of like said, well, you don't really have any access and you can't prove that these people showed it to these people, and you're just a cover band artist, which was weird because I hadn't been in a cover band since I was in high school.
Yeah.
But they were just like saying, shitty, insulting things. And but it was I don't know, it was a learning experience, and like it was enough lawsuit for me to for a lifetime. Like I never want to do that shit again, and I don't recommend it. But part of me is kind of glad that I did, because after I did that, and I'm not saying this is because of it, but after I did that, a lot more people started suing Dr. Luke, and I think that there was a lot of pressure on the label, especially after the stuff he did with Kesha.
Yes.
Where it was basically like people started questioning, like, well, does this guy kind of rip off people, and is that the cost of business of working with him? It's like all these lawsuits.
Yeah.
And I was able to coordinate with other people that sued him later would call me, and I would give them advice, tell them what they're going to ask for, what the legal team is like. And so I don't know. I like to think that I helped, fuck him up a little bit, and I stood up for myself and my song, which I'm still proud of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is he still working?
I think he's still working, but I think that it just, he got sued so much that hopefully he'll less people will hire him, or he'll think twice about stealing. But I
watched a YouTube video the other day of them openly admitting ripping off the Yeah Yeah Yeahs for Since You've Been Gone. That was the whole inspiration for that song was Maps.
One of the worst ones was there's a song called The Rubinoos, which is was a hit. The band's called The Rubinoos. The song was called I Want to Be Your Boyfriend. And the chorus is like, hey, you, I want to be your boyfriend. And that's like Dr. Luke's generation, because he's 50-something years old. So he rips off that song for Avril Lavigne, and Avril Lavigne has no idea that he's handing her a song that where the lyrics are literally, hey, you, I want to be your girlfriend.
Yeah.
He just changed one word. And a lot of these artists, like Pink, he gave Pink a stolen song. And to her credit, she was like, oh my God, this is stolen. Fuck you, Dr. Luke. I'm never working with you again. So anyway, some artists have kind of figured it out.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the whole way that this happens is that these guys are just pitching them songs, because these artists are just coming in and learning them and singing them, right?
Yeah.
And they haven't, unless you know unless you know that deep cut from a power pop group from the 70s, you're not gonna fucking realize that that's not original.
So that concludes that, and I hate talking about it too, because it's negative and kind of bitter.
Yeah.
And and it ended a while ago, and so I've just worked on making and creating my own stuff again. And the big healing thing for me was that shit ended in 2013, and then I met my wife, and we formed a band that was kind of we both loved the Cramps and the Pixies, and it was kind of in that vein, and I taught her how to play bass.
Cool.
And we started doing we did this band called The Shakes for a while that was just very Cramps and fun. And then in 2015 I did a rock album that I really liked, that I just kind of worked through all my issues on. Have you ever done that, where you just pour out
totally
all your fucking issues on one album? That was it for me. I dealt with, it's called The Clean Album. It's available on Spotify.
Yeah, there you go.
Please check it out.
Yeah.
Bandcamp too, because Bandcamp actually pays artists more.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Bandcamp over Spotify. But
that's been a massive topic in the news recently, and with my friends too, of what can we do about this, and what can be changed. And I don't know. Spotify is just such a weird.
It's horrible.
Such a fucking weird thing. Yeah.
But I talked about addiction issues that I've had, issues with my dad, issues with like religion.
Mm-hmm.
I got into all of it, and it was like really cathartic and kind of cleansing and cathartic and whatever. And then then I started doing more like production. One of the cool bands that I got to like be like not a producer but an engineer on was Depeche Mode. I got to work with them, and because Martin Gore's like a local
he lives in
Santa Barbara guy.
Yeah.
So I helped him move all of his like giant modular racks to Santa Barbara Sound Design.
Cool.
And these things are like the size of like old arcade machines.
Yeah.
And like
are they at least on wheels?
No, we had to fucking carry them downstairs and shit. I had in my like band trailer, I had a shelf for just guitars, like, and I tore that out so we could fit these giant things in there. Brought them down to Santa Barbara Sound Design, and they didn't like the new Neve, like the new Portico series Neve console. They didn't like, so they flew in their own console from the UK, like a SSL board, and we set up all the modular racks in the tracking room.
Yeah.
And it was so cool seeing them work because they would do these weird things. Like they would use a drum sample, like a drum machine, but they would bust the snare drum sample through a Yamaha NS10 that was resting on drumsticks right above a snare drum. And then they would mic the snare drum. So they would get the sound of the sample hitting the snare. Like they would do all kinds of cool shit
crazy.
like that, you know?
Yeah.
And major respect for Martin Gore because he's kind of like the Keith Richards of the band, where he does some of the lyrics but like all of the music. And then Dave, the singer, is like a really cool guy, and I think he does, he writes some lyrics, but he basically would come in every day, warm up his voice like a pro, just every day at a certain time, like 10 a.m. or whatever. He would just warm up for like an hour, and then they would go. And then there was a third guy that would just show up sometimes and didn't do anything. But it was cool watching them work.
Yeah, man, I saw them at the Santa Barbara Bowl.
Yeah.
And Martin Gore played a new guitar for every song. I was like, this is fucking nuts.
He is so talented.
Yeah. And then the lead singer, you can tell, like, really works on his vocals. Because, as you get older, it's not the same as when you're younger. You have to do those vocal exercises.
It's very physical, and he's first of all, he's in great shape. They both look amazing.
Yeah.
Both of those guys, for being however old they are, and they're on.
Yeah.
You just watch those, especially in Europe. They fucking pack stadiums.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Yeah, they're probably a lot bigger over there, and they're massive here.
Yeah,
but they're probably even bigger over there.
Yeah,
that's so crazy.
I know, because their sound is almost like a German.
Are they British?
I
don't really.
They're British.
I don't know too much about Depeche Mode. That's the problem. I saw them, but I don't know too much about them.
That was a cool.
I just know the music. I haven't dug deep into like who they are as people.
Yeah, like I've because most of who I work with are like indie artists and stuff, and like that's who I'm usually with in the studio, and I love that. But it's also, guys from that era, like the '80s, music, like you would just be a bigger star back then.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to think of like massive rock stars now, and they don't exist on the same scale.
What was the last big rock album?
I don't know.
Kings of Leon?
Yeah, I guess.
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
2010? I can't remember when that record came out. I think I was a senior in high school. 2008?
Yeah.
I can't think of another massive one.
I had a cool kind of encounter with those guys.
Really?
We were rehearsing at SIR in Nashville, and like next to them, and we would like share the same break room, and they were like pretty chill. I met them again at South by Southwest one year, backstage at like an Iggy Pop show.
What year was this?
That was probably 2007 or 8.
Wow.
And I ended up talking to the guitar player about old Ampeg amps and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
Wait, so South by 2007 or 8, like I did South by in 2017 or 2018. And everyone talks about that fucking festival, and I wanted to have my own experience.
Yeah.
And like so many people, oh, it sucks. It's not worth it. It's this, it's that. Oh, you should have been there when it was the beginning. It was better in the beginning. Like, what was it like in 2007 or 8? Was there already
Good
like,
question.
Mountain Dew stage, like Converse for it?
Well, I mean, yeah. So I'll just give you like my cool moments. So the coolest moment was, okay. I had 2 cool moments. One, I can't remember the name of the venue, but the way it works is like the way it works everywhere, everywhere where the bands that nobody really knows about, like us, we play at like 12 or 1 in the afternoon, and then like the really big bands play later. And I'm gonna blank on this artist's name, but there's this great female artist. She's kind of like a female James Brown, and I can't remember her name right now, but she was up there crushing it with her horn section and everything. And then they came backstage, and I just stayed backstage because I wanted to just like, I could see the stage better from like the little balcony, and B, I wanted to like be around all the other cool musicians that were going to be there. So I just like stayed after we played, and I was the Dap Kings,
Sharon Jones
and the Dap Kings.
Oh wow.
So I was like I was seated like kind of next to Sharon Jones, and this girl walks up with a giant beehive hairdo, and she and I didn't know who she was, and she was like, I just wanted to tell you to Sharon Jones, she was like, you've been a huge inspiration to me and a huge influence on me, and thank you. And she was like, oh wow, oh, thank you, okay, cool. And I was like, who's that? And then like the next day in the Austin paper, it was like Amy Winehouse. And I was like, oh, that's who that is. And then her record got big, and it was like, wow.
So that must have been 2007.
That was my one cool. And then my other cool moment was at Stubbs Barbecue. I think that's what it's called. It was like this small barbecue joint. And the good thing about South by Southwest is you get to see big artists on small stages. I mean, that's like the main thing. But I think we played there early, or maybe we didn't play there, but I just got in there. And what I did was just kind of walk onto the stage at like 2 p.m. or whatever, and then walked backstage and just hung out backstage and talked to people because I wanted to see Iggy Pop play from like the side of the stage. I basically wanted to do the same thing. And I shouldn't have been back there, but Iggy Pop came in. I got to like shake his hand, and I sound like a fanboy, but I am.
Yeah.
And I got to see his like set, and then like he came backstage after his show, which was just amazing. Like the guy's like so kinetic on stage. Like he's almost like a matador where he challenges you to like take the mic from him or something. You know what I mean? He's like, totally. When he sings, he's like so into it and cool. And the only other guy that's kind of like that is Lux Interior from the Cramps. Like that's similar energy, but and he's not like hiding behind a guitar or anything. He's just like he's just doing it, and it's beautiful. And so he comes backstage. He's taking his pants off because he's always like has no shirt on. He's in a towel, and he's with like I don't know if transvestite is the right. Maybe that's not PC anymore. But he's with a transgender person. Yeah,
totally.
Like who's taller than he is, and he's doing Rolling Stone interviews and stuff. And I mean that guy's just he's got a bottle of wine. And I was smoking a cigarette, and he was like, oh, I can't be around any cigarettes. Like, I was like, oh, shit. Put it out. Yeah. He takes care of his voice. Those are my cool South by Southwest stories.
Oh, okay. So backstage, you were right there when Amy Winehouse introduced herself to Sharon Jones, and you were right next to Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
That's
and eventually, like when people started to leave, and he was still doing the Rolling Stones interview, I eventually got kicked out. Someone was like, "What are you doing? You get out of here."
Yeah. You got a wristband.
Fair enough.
I'm playing too. I'm supposed to be here.
I was just being like a little weasel, but
that's crazy. Yeah, I had an experience like that. I went to see Sean Lennon and what's the dude from Primus, the bass player?
Oh God,
Les Claypool. They have a project, and my boss at the time, I was working for a festival, and he was opening. So I was like, oh, I'll just like walk backstage at the Fonda and say hi to him. because he's my boss. Like, that seems natural. And then maybe I'll see like Sean Lennon. And so I go backstage and like, everyone left. And then I see Les Claypool. He looks at me like, who the fuck are you? He seems like a really nice guy, but was just like, who are you? And then immediately someone's like, what are you doing here? And started pushing me. You got to get out of here. I was like, I'm just looking for my boss. Well, he's not here. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I don't want to sound like a fucking star fucker or anything, but these are interesting stories.
They're fun. Wow. That's a lot.
So and these are two like park rangers. Hopefully they don't bust
Hopefully
us.
they don't bust us. But
we're in a cordoned off area. There's like police tape here around these tables. I don't know if it's a crime scene or.
No, I don't know. I think it's just crowded beaches, crowded parks lead to closed parks. That's what they said. I think we'll be fine. No, that kind of stuff is what makes it like really cool. It's like fun stories and memories to have.
It's like little slice of life stuff, especially when you get around people that are that famous. It's a completely different world.
Yeah.
Like, for example, my wife's dad is the lead singer of Motley Crue, and
I was at your wedding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And DJ Darla Bay was there.
Yeah, that's right.
And we had the best Elvis impersonator in California, James Kruk. Shout out to James Kruk. I wanted Elvis to marry us, but my parents were against it.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
So, but we found like a really cool like non-denominational lady who did our vows but yeah, the Motley Crue world was cool and totally different, and they played like 3 sold out shows at the Staples Center. I'm one of their.
Did you go?
Yeah, on one of their farewell tours, because like these big bands are always doing this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a scam, but it's always like, this is our last show. Goodbye, everyone. Yeah. And they sell a bunch of tickets, and then like 4 or 5 years later, it's like,
we're back.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they
like
sell a bunch of tickets.
Everybody fucking does that.
Yeah.
But so we were.
They had to cancel their whole tour this year because of COVID, right?
Yeah, they did.
I listened to Tommy Lee's girlfriend's podcast.
Oh,
cool. Furlan. Yeah.
Nice.
And they're moving to Santa Barbara.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw that they've been talking about it on their podcast. Tomasi.
Yeah, it's when you've been in a band that long, I think relationships get strained, and on those, at least when I was hanging out with them, because we kind of traveled with Vince for like, I don't know, 6 tour dates or something like that, like 10 days or something. And the band, like, they don't talk to each other. Even on the last show, when they went off stage, they all just went to their separate dressing rooms.
Yeah.
And like when they show up in different buses at the stadium, and they like there might be a hello if they're passing in the hall, but that's it.
Wow.
Like they talk through lawyers and managers and stuff.
They've been through a lot
They've
been through so much. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And again, they were in that age where rock stars were a bigger thing. It's almost like hard to comprehend.
Yeah. It was like almost the last generation of bands like that. Like there's like Zeppelin, Motley Crue, and then, was there anyone
Nirvana,
in the 90s like that?
Nirvana was pretty big, and then I guess, okay, I'm not a huge fan. This is a controversial opinion, but I'm not a big fan of the Foo Fighter. Dave Grohl's band.
Dave Grohl's band, yeah.
But
Foo Fighters.
But they're big.
Yeah.
But
like the overindulgence of the drugs and the parties, I feel like that
and also
died in the 90s.
The fame, like the sheer like that kind of died out. Like with what did you have? Yeah, we had Rage Against the Machine, Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah, and Rage Against the Machine was kind of conscious, kind of like socially conscious.
I liked that about them.
So it didn't really seem like they were partying and doing drugs, and they got the Led Zeppelin's got the fucking private jets, and they're going crazy.
No,
like, it wasn't really like that.
It's kind of cool, like that. It's almost like a shaman thing, and I don't want to get too weird, but the Jim Morrison like would talk about how a rock band's job is to like act out excess on stage and like heal people through this sort of display of like, if you want to talk about what, for example, Motley Crue kind of embodies, I think it's like, it's partying.
Totally.
It's the lyrics aren't introspective or existential. It's very much like, we're gonna embody like spirits of having a good time.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's, you know, when people listen to Motley Crue, that's what they do. They have a good time, and it's a brand at the end of the day.
it's a brand.
Motley Crue is a
it's
brand.
a business and a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Absolutely.
It's like the one thing I hate when people just talk about image, like anything I've ever gotten from labels, like you need to work on your image. I'm like, dude, fuck my image. It's just me. Like you either like me, you don't fucking like me. Like I'm not gonna. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't do that. Kind of stuff. I was like, I just want to write good songs. Can't I just write the songs and not be the image?
Because it is narrow. You know, they like for example, Rage Against the Machine. They can't really write a ballad.
Totally.
About love. They have to write about.
And they have an image. You know.
Yeah. They have
Beatles.
They have to write about you know, fucking over the system or whatever. You know.
Luckily, there's a.
Which I
there's
like.
a lot to talk about with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a socialist. I agree with that shit, but it's still confining from an artistic perspective. Like, I like to be able to write about whatever, but I also feel like political songs don't necessarily age as well.
Yeah.
So like if you want to talk about, like, for example, who's the best at writing political?
Dylan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan. And would you rather now in 2020 listen to Dylan's Edgar Mevers song?
Yeah.
Or Lay Lady Lay?
Yeah, totally.
Lay Lady Lay.
Yeah. I was just listening to Nashville Skyline like 2 days ago. Yeah.
Because it's about the human condition, and
yeah, that's true.
And that shit just ages better.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. Good protest songs make for good protests, but bad songs. That's a quote I've heard.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean,
no, and no, they're great protest songs, and like Dylan's one of the best at it. But like every time I've ever tried to write one, it's just like, oh man,
I've done some really cringe political songs.
Yeah, it's like
Like in 2003.
I see the comments online too. Like people are like, "We're all the political," like, you know, because I remember when Trump got elected, everyone thought, "Oh, a bunch of punk albums are gonna be made." Not a single fucking punk album was fucking made. Like,
they were like, "Oh, the good news is this is gonna be a golden age for punk music." Nothing.
Fuck off. Like, and the punk music that does get made is still kind of about the same things. Like me. You know, we're musicians, man. We're self-involved. I'm working out myself before I can help others.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think you can heal yourself with the music,
totally,
and others through. You know, it's almost like you act out your pain and trauma for other people to identify with in a certain way. Anyway,
yeah, I completely agree, man. I think we need to know that these experiences are not always unique. Maybe definitely people have unique experiences, but like one thing I've noticed with this podcast is also like the pandemic, the pandemic depression that's gone on, where people just don't feel interested in writing songs anymore. Like nobody feels like motivated. It's very real.
It sucks.
And it's not unique, because I have friends who are closer. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't write anything. I'm like, there's nothing to write about. You've been in your house, or you've been working and go straight to work and go straight home.
Well, for me, like I used to do band practice at least once a week before the pandemic. Yeah. And it was like, for me, a spiritual release. Like some people go to church, I would go to band practice and I would feel better. And then that stopped because of the pandemic. And, you know, my keyboard player has a young daughter. And, and my
tiny hot room where you're just breathing on top of each other.
My drummer is like an EMT, so he's like at risk, and so we decided not to do it. So the way I dealt with it was I just by myself kind of remotely worked with other musicians to just make like this grandiose song called The Pearl. The Pearl by Will Loomis, just released on SoundCloud and YouTube.
Yes.
And it's this epic that I spent months. I spent way too much time on it because I didn't have a band, so it took longer. And also, I would send it out to musicians. I ended up using like real strings. Yeah. And I worked out this deal with this great string player / arranger named Betty Byers, who's
local?
She's in her 80s, and she used to play on like all kinds of records. Like she was a single mom in like the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And she put her daughter through school and paid her own bills by playing on like major label albums. Like Like she played on like Dolly Parton records.
Wow.
She played with like Frank Zappa at the Hollywood Bowl. She played on in the 90s. She played on like some Death Row records.
Yeah.
And she's just an incredible string player. And she had this box of reel-to-reel tape that was like 1/4-inch tape. And we worked out a deal where I'll transfer all your tapes to digital and you play in my song. And it was a good deal because she, you know, these tapes are like sometimes like 40 minutes long on each side, and so
sometimes there's sound
it's
and
a
then
lot of
there's
work.
a big gap where there's nothing, and you're like, what are we listening to here? Yeah.
But I love tape, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. And
what were on her tapes? Just like
her tapes were amazing. There's like Vivaldi, there's like all kinds of like incredible classical arrangements that she would play, and they're from like the 50s, 60s,
and you digitized it for her?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually still working on it.
I'm still digitizing it. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, this song, The Pearl, it's kind of like, you know, I couldn't do my normal thing with a rock band. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do a very grandiose, like ballad. It's almost like kind of like a sea shanty where it's like, it's an epic story. It's kind of like loosely based off Moby Dick and John Steinbeck's short story, The Pearl, where it's kind of a tale of like hubris where, you know, this guy dives down. He's a pearl diver. He goes down for the perfect pearl and he can't make it back to the surface, but he has it. And so it's about like greed and ambition and overreach. And
how does one even start writing a song like that about the sea?
That's a good question.
I listened to the video. I watched the video today in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not a pearl diver.
Yeah.
I don't even think pearl divers exist anymore. Sea urchin divers exist because I know a guy that does that, and it's a very dangerous job. But, yeah, I don't know. It's fantasy. It's like sometimes I write based on like real experience. Yeah. Most of the time, and other times I just want to write a cool short story, and I like the medium of songwriting because. It's short, which fits my attention span. It's concise and it tells a tale, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's, I think it came out
like,
well too.
I'm going to write a song about pearl divers.
Yeah. I'm going to write a song about, folly and ambition.
Crazy.
Whoa, there's literally a tumbleweed. I've never seen,
You've never seen
I've never seen a tumbleweed in Santa Barbara.
Oh yeah, there it is. That's kind of weird. Oh wow.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't think we can get a shot of that. But.
I can't. I'm not gonna. Everything's set up already. That's wild, man. Yeah. So let's just head back. You were in a band called Kings of Spain.
That was my very first band before Loomis and the Lust. And it was a 2-piece with me and Adam Baltieri. And
I know his sister Molly.
Yeah.
And that's how we got connected through MySpace because I was in a band called Tigers in the City.
Okay.
And we played at Cold Springs Tavern together.
Yes.
And I must have been 15 or 16 years old.
Yes, because I think I'm older than you by
a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah. And our bass player is my cousin. It was all my cousins. It was like my cousin Armando, my Uncle Jose was only a year older than me, and then my cousin Eric, who was even younger than me. So he was like 13. Like we were playing in IV and he was 13 and I was 15. And because people thought we looked,
I guess we looked free beer.
Yeah. And we just looked older, I guess, you know. And I always had to be home by 10. That was like my rule. Like I couldn't stay out the shows very late. I'd play, pack up.
So you actually played a show with Kings of Spain?
Yeah. At Cold Springs Tavern.
Wow, that's so cool.
I know. Crazy.
Yeah, I love Cold Springs Tavern.
Yeah.
And I was listening to you talk about, I think it was with Sam France, about how small that fucking stage is.
Oh, yeah.
I have a story about that. I tried to do a sensational, like, jump.
Yeah.
When I was playing guitar in that stage, and I fucking hit my head so hard on the rafters.
Wow.
Because the stage is, like, literally, like, 5 feet by 6. I mean, it's ridiculously small, but I did not take into account that the ceiling was also low. Yeah. And I almost knocked myself out. I was like, and then I had to play it off. Like nothing happened. Man.
Wow. That's hilarious. And so then the years go on, and my buddy Jeremy was playing drums for you for a while in Loomis and the Lust, and you guys would play Muddy Waters all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember being like 18 and going to your guys' shows on Muddy Waters.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Just like stopping by and
Cool.
being like, there's a bunch of people here. How come no one comes to my shows? You know, it's like that young, like, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing? Like, and I remember I used to feel that way at a lot of people's shows.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because I never understood why.
I used to get so jealous, too, other people. And, and like, people kind of sometimes attribute this to, like, women or something, or some sort of misogynistic way, but actually, like, bands talk so much shit behind other bands' back.
Yeah, totally.
And it's almost part of it. And it's not necessarily like completely toxic or evil. It's like, but it is like an impulse of like, you see another band, you're like, well, and I've gotten better at not doing this. But it's like, well, I could have done that better. Well, I don't know why this. That part's kind of stupid. You know what I mean? You nitpick, especially when you're on tour with another band. I had this crazy experience where, okay, I do not like emo music. It's up there with like polka is one of my least favorite types of music. I actually like polka more than emo because I heard a good polka song recently, but we went on tour with Hawthorne Heights.
Oh yeah, I remember them.
And I think by the end of it, I don't know if it was Stockholm Syndrome or something, but by the end of this tour, I had sort of a respect for him, like a grudging respect. And I realized, like, okay, I may not like their presentation, but what they're doing is they're, working for people, and they're doing a good job at what they do. And I think the older you get, the more humility, at least I think most people get more humble and more kind of accepting. And it's like, okay,
and the more tours you do, the more of that struggle you like live through. You're like, oh,
you know how
that
hard
band,
it is.
You know how exactly how hard it is to do a national tour, to even do a West Coast tour. Like, can take a lot of money and energy, and you're not sleeping well, and you're not eating well, and you're like, oh, maybe I should stop talking shit. And a lot of the bands I see now in Santa Barbara who talk shit to me or anything like that, I realize you haven't toured.
Well, they'll never talk shit to you. They'll always talk shit behind your back.
I know. But like, it's just like, you don't know. You think you have an idea of how well I'm doing because you'll see me. I'll do a good show at Soho, and you see the show. It's like, that's Soho, man. That's not the rest of the world. I go play in SF to 10 people. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, you know. And that's the reality of a lot of this stuff. Is that you never know what somebody else is going through, and I've learned that a lot. Touring really opened my eyes to that shit, because you play with other bands that you see them on Instagram. Oh, they're playing great shows, and then you play a show with them outside. It's like, oh, okay, we're all struggling.
I also think that what helped me kind of open my mind was working as a producer and an engineer. So you have if you're not at the level where you can pick who you work with whoever, and you have to put yourself in their shoes and learn what's best for them and adapt. And it's kind of like, what's the analogy? We can edit this dead space out. But I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, either way, you just kind of put yourself in their shoes and realize, wait, from the producer standpoint, when you're taking on a band and recording their record and being sensitive to what they want to hear and what you think could improve their sound.
Exactly. And you have to kind of adapt. Just give me a second to you can cut this out in post, right?
Sure. Or I can just leave it nice and raw. But either way, I completely agree. I think working with a producer is something that was very new to me. Like, I don't know, I did my first record in at the end of 2013. And prior to that, I'd always done the $30 an hour, $50 an hour thing. And you're kind of scrambling, trying to get one song done in 4 hours. And it never sounds right. And it wasn't until I worked with Jonathan Rado, and it was just like, hey, give me, I'm not going to say the amount, but give me some kind of amount of money, and we'll spend 10 days on the record, 24 hours a day.
Exactly. The good producer is like sympathetic and can adapt. Yeah. And I learned a lot about adapting and hearing things kind of through their ears and kind of trying to be like a fifth or sixth member of the band. Yeah. And being in that support role kind of taught me a lot about, okay, what this record needs, what the band needs, and how to kind of shape it in their vision. Yeah. And that opened my mind a lot. Oh, I remembered what I wanted to say. So all right, here we go. So great producer that I kind of look up to is Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
And he's very good at tuning out all the production elements. So I mentioned I didn't really like Hawthorne Heights because I don't like the emo delivery singing style. I don't really like the intervals they hit when they're like, "Hey there, da, 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 da," and it sounds kind of whiny, and I don't really like it. But if you can hear past that and just kind of like open your third eye to just what the song is, and almost hear it without any production, just hear it on an acoustic guitar or piano, then you can kind of get into the song and you just see the song. And I feel like that's how Rick Rubin was able to say, okay, I'm working with Johnny Cash, but I think Hurt would be a great song for Johnny Cash to sing. Even though that's written by Nine Inch Nails, I think it shows pain and religiosity, and I think it would fit perfectly with where Johnny Cash is right now, given June Carter has just died. And sure enough, like Johnny Cash like nailed the fuck out of that song. But you need a producer like Rick Rubin to kind of like see past production and style and see the song and see a song that would fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I agree. Yeah, it's this guy's staring at us. Oh, it's gonna be loud. Okay, we'll take a quick break. Yeah. Okay, thanks, man. Okay, we're back. As you may know on YouTube, we are in a park. The ranger is watering the grass or something, so it might be kind of loud. If you're just listening to this on audio, I'm going to try and take it out in post, but you guys know how it is, man. No studio. Can't afford a studio, so I do it in a park. And this is better than Zoom, so I'm stoked. Thanks.
Oh, by the way, speaking of studio, I'm building a studio in my garage right now. It has floating floors.
Whoa.
It has two of the walls that like are close to the neighbor's house. I put full on concrete, so I got good isolation. Wow. I'm putting cork on the floor, and I got wood paneling on the ceiling. So it's a nice like little studio, and it's in Carpinteria, and definitely record you.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
We'll do some kind of like bro deal.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Yeah. So how long have you been building this studio in your garage?
I started in like June or July.
Yeah.
And I've had some help doing it, but I think it's going to be done in the next couple weeks.
Cool.
And it's got a coffered ceiling. I kind of made it look like a Victorian study. So it doesn't really feel... Initially, I was going to be like, okay, I'll make it look like a nice, sterile kind of maple wood studio that looks like every other studio. And then I was like, no, I'm going to make it weird. I'm going to make it cozy and seem like an old living room.
Yeah.
And it looks good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got some photos up on Instagram of the progress.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Oh, man. Yeah, see where my mind goes immediately is like, oh, YouTube channel. Film yourself just building this fucking thing. And then
I mean, I'm so bad at
that's in my world of content.
No, I mean,
this year.
You've been on fire in terms of putting great videos out.
Yeah.
You got this podcast, and it's been kind of an inspiration because I really need to get more of my stuff out there. Even if I'm working with other people, I'm not really happy unless I'm also putting out my own stuff.
Yeah.
And my rate has slowed, especially with COVID, to like I'm at like one song a year right now, so it needs to go up.
Totally. Yeah. Like this is like the most of the gear I bought was so I can do this remotely. I thought I was gonna go on tour. When I hit certain cities, I'll talk to my friends who are in that city. Like this will be tight.
You can still do that.
I will eventually still do it, but like this year it's just like
yeah,
it was a wash.
This year is horrible.
Zooms do it on Zoom, I guess. But like, it's this year was okay. The year's ending, man. I can't believe the year's about to end. How do you feel about what are your thoughts for 2021? Your hopes, your dreams?
Well, I just on Twitter I saw that like Australia is doing post-COVID celebrations where they're like having concerts and they're like partying because COVID is over. And I'm just like, man, our system is really fucked up.
Yeah.
I think it's partly because of the federalist system where we have all these different states and every state can decide how much they lock down. Part of it was obviously the executive branch fucking up with Trump being just a total fucking idiot. But all these things combined, just like in the clearest light of day, show how bad our healthcare system is and how bad we're able to deal with something like a pandemic.
Yeah.
And you can't deny it because all these other countries have dealt with it pretty fucking well.
Yeah, it's pretty infuriating to see Australia just be like, we're done, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and they had like this giant party with like all these people and a
they,
live
like,
concert.
They never really shut down either for a little bit. Like I've talked to a few friends in Australia and they're like, yeah, we're just wearing the mask. Pretty simple. Just wear the mask.
You'd think. Right.
Yeah, it's insane, man. Yeah, I'm definitely optimistic about the new year. I don't know why, but everyone I talk to is just like, why? I'm like, it's done. We're going to be done real soon with it. Like, I don't know. There's a weird timeline that I'm seeing online and from people talk, and maybe the vaccine's out by April, and then you got June, July, and then Ticketmaster and all these things are thinking about October. Yeah. I was like, oh, good. Maybe we could throw shows in October.
Yeah,
like,
I have a friend who's like a music conductor on Broadway, and like she's fucked. She's like thinking about changing careers now.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's
going back to school, changing careers. Yeah, those are the things I've heard a lot.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I have some like kind of good news that I don't want to fully announce it because it's like 95% sure it's going to happen, but not 100%. But I might get this job in LA working for this record label that where I could do music production full time. Cool. And I'd have to move to LA after spending all this time and money building a studio in Carp. But I mean, I would still try to like keep that open in Carp and be in Carp part time. Because I love Santa Barbara. I love Carpinteria.
Do you own the house in Carp?
We're paying a mortgage on it now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So you can realize.
I mean, I might.
I don't know.
I'm thinking about like renting it out and then just keeping the studio locked and separate because it's in there's 2 garages. It's in one of the garages. But it doesn't look like a garage, obviously. You walk in there, like it's immaculate.
Yeah. That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Yeah, you could potentially rent out the house and then keep the studio. Yeah. And then rent something in LA or something like that.
Yeah, figure something out.
But
it'd be a good problem to have. If this job goes through, it's Yeah. And I've lived in LA before and it's like
how long did you live in LA? Are you from Santa Barbara?
No, I'm actually from the East Coast originally. Like I grew up in a combination of New York City and Connecticut, and then I moved out here when my dad retired because he used to work in New York City, and finished high school out here.
Cool. Where'd you go to high school?
I started out at Kate School.
Oh, Kate School. That's
where
right.
I had that great experience. Yeah. And did you know Crosby from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young also went to Kate and got kicked out?
That's right. Yeah.
I didn't technically get kicked out, but I was like on double secret probation.
No, there you go.
But then when my parents moved out, I didn't have to be like a boarder anymore. And I just wanted to go to like a public high school so bad because I didn't like the cloistered, hyper competitive environment. Because that place is like very small. It's up on a hill. Yeah. If you're not a day student, you're stuck there. And I just loved going to Santa Barbara High, like finishing up senior year there. Nobody bothered me. Yeah. I got to like play in the jazz band, form a little rock band.
Totally.
And, there was more musicians to choose from to collaborate with. And there was no mandatory sports. A lot of these private schools are mandatory sports. Really?
Just because there's just not enough kids.
Fucking hate sports.
There's just not enough kids.
Yeah.
They need something. Yeah. That's wild, man. Yeah, Santa Barbara High. I went to San Marcos, which is right over there, and
they had a great jazz band.
They did. Oh, at Santa Barbara or
San Marcos?
San Marcos. I did the drumline freshman year, and it was like they took it very, very serious. But it was like the tail end of like the really great drummers who went there, and then my generation where we kind of stopped.
Who was your teacher there?
Garsky.
Garsky, okay.
Yeah. He eventually became the vice principal, and his son used to play drums for my uncle's band. My uncle's a year older than me. I keep forget. I feel like I always have to tell people that. They're like, your uncle played with high school students? Yeah, no, he was also a student. But yeah, man, that's Santa Barbara's a crazy. Did you ever feel the pressure of having to move to LA? Did you need?
Oh, constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've
And then you did. How long were you in LA?
Well, I went to LA to go to MI,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got a job at Santa Barbara Sound Design, so I moved back to Santa Barbara. But there's always that pull. It's like a big magnet, and and anytime like work slows down, where I didn't have projects, I would always like beat myself up and be like, "Well, you should be in LA. You know, what did you expect?"
Yeah.
So, but I just love Santa Barbara. I love how beautiful and laid back it is, and
do you think an artist today needs to move to a big city, or can you do it from your town?
You know, it's a tough question. Yeah, it probably like depends. I think once you're established, you can live anywhere.
Yeah.
Kind of like all these big actors. They live their real houses in like Jackson Hole or some weird shit because they know they can just fly to LA to do a job. But LA to me is like, yeah, you've got a lot of traffic, you've got a lot of smog, you've got kind of a fucked up culture, and maybe nowhere in the United States is the disparity of the wealth gap more present than Los Angeles, where you literally have these hyper wealthy gated communities and people living in tents, and it's you know,
it's the best visualization of like the things we're talking about.
I know vibe is kind of maybe a bullshit term, but the vibes in LA are kind of scary. Like,
I've driven through it.
Vicious. And
it's
cruel.
It's fucking Gotham right now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is getting bad quickly.
Like they shut down that COVID testing center to film a gender swapped remake of She's All That called He's All That.
Oh,
and they canceled like 500 COVID tests to do this. And it's just like, it's disgusting.
Yeah. That's
it's fucking
insane.
disgusting.
That's insane. Yeah, I definitely, being in Santa Barbara, you always feel that pressure to move to LA. And I don't know, man, with the internet the way it is now and the way bands just blow up on fucking Spotify, stay in your hometown, dude. Just put something out there and pray the algorithm gods bless you and you're on every fucking playlist.
The only reason I would move there is for this job that is going to be really good if it happens. Yeah. And I do like going down there to work with people that I respect. Like there's this guy Mark Needham who I've worked with a bit, and he mixed Cake. He mixed the Killers album. He got the Killers signed. He did Neon Trees, Imagine Dragons. These are all bands that he kind of developed and mixed and produced. And actually, he did some work on you ever seen that Blue Velvet movie? It's David Lynch.
No, I haven't seen that one.
So it's kind of like
I'm thinking of Velvet Goldmine. That's a different movie.
The David Lynch Twin Peaks kind of sound I've been into lately, and I put some of that in my new song, The Pearl by Will Loomis, available on Spotify. And I got him to mix The Pearl, and he also mixed Blue Velvet and a lot of Chris Isaac. He did Chris Isaac's song, the one where he yodels in the sexiest way possible. You know, what's that song called? And I think I'm falling in love with you. And it's got that lonely, cool guitar sound. So, I put a baritone guitar in The Pearl, and I put like this kind of sexy, elaborate arrangement. And I got him to mix, and just really happy with the way it came out. But yeah, if I get an opportunity to work with people like in LA that I like, I'll just fucking go. Yeah, and totally. If it means living there, I'll fucking live there, you know? But where my heart is, Santa Barbara.
Totally, man. That's so crazy. The tour with Hawthorne Heights, let's go back to that for a second, because that's just wild to me, man. How'd you get that? Booking agent pitch you for that, or because you weren't emo and they were emo?
No, I think it was that there was
and how long was the tour?
Okay, I think we're talking
this is a long
2011 now. I think the tour was 4 weeks, 6 weeks, something like. There was like a summer tour. I could be wrong on the time, and I think it was that a manager that we used to work with worked for the same label that they were with, and I did kind of an opening thing, and it was an acoustic tour, so they were playing acoustic, and they had their full band minus a drummer, but it was like stripped down and acoustic, and then I would open for them just on acoustic guitar.
Oh, okay. So it was just you on this tour.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was challenging because I had an audience that I knew just did not like the same shit that I was doing, but there was a couple cities that I was able to win the audience over, and like one or two places where, dare I say, I think I might have done as good or maybe a little better. But I don't know. I'm biased, obviously, but I thought like the farther south we went. So they're based in Ohio. And the farther south we went.
Ohio's for lovers.
Ohio's, yeah. Ohio. That's how they say Ohio.
Wow.
Nobody fucking talks like that. But they go, Ohio.
Yeah.
Hey, dear. They also do that thing there.
Yeah.
Like, nobody says that like that. That's one of my pet peeves is like people that sing differently than they speak is triggers me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it just seems phony. But anyway, no shade.
So when you guys played the South, you found...
I actually found that I went over better in the South.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I was on acoustic guitar and I was trying out a lot of like kind of pseudo country type stuff. Like Tom Petty meets Johnny Cash type inspired type stuff. Because what else could I fucking do? I mean, I could have done something more like Cat Stevens. That would have been cool. I really like him. He can do there's certain guys that can do so much with just acoustic guitar, like Neil Young. I actually like Neil Young's like live acoustic albums of his early stuff better than when he's with his band or even with Crazy Horse. But Cat Stevens the same way, you know. But I was at that time I was kind of doing. I released a country album and I was kind of just doing that, and it was country-ish, but it was just acoustic guitar.
And they were acoustic too?
They were acoustic on that tour.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. The nice thing I can imagine about acoustic tours is that you don't have to pay the rest of the band. It's just like you.
Yeah.
So it's like.
No, they're hardworking guys, and they're, credit to them. Like
That's awesome.
Anybody that can make a living doing music, respect. Because it's not easy.
It's really hard, dude. It's so hard. Oh my God. That's so wild, man. Those crazy tours. Was that one of the longer tours you've done, or how many tours have you been a part of? Anyone else notable you guys have toured with?
I mean, Santa Barbara guys that you would know. Like I've toured with Tommy and the High Pilots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tommy's band used to play at my high school every year.
Yeah.
Like during lunch.
I remember that. Yeah. His brother, Jimmy Cantillon, would set that up.
That's right.
And Jimmy Cantillon.
Dan Moore has been on this podcast.
Okay.
Because he worked on that last Harry Nilsson record.
Jimmy Cantillon would do this. He used to work for Drive Through Records, and he would do this thing for them where he would just book bands on a high school tour. But a lot of times Jimmy would say like, yeah, you're booked at all these high schools and we've done promotion and flyers and you just need to show up and play. And then we'd get to the high school and they'd be like, we have no idea who you are.
Oh shit.
But I guess you can set up and play. So I think Jimmy's a little bit of a fucking con artist. But we would show up and play, and like, it's a great audience to have, especially as like if you're in your mid 20s or early 20s. Like,
yeah,
I feel like you can relate better. But they were appreciative, especially in the hinterlands, like in places like Fresno or, Bakersfield. They're a little bit more receptive because there's not a lot of other entertainment going on. And other times Jimmy would book us like in the parking lot of a flea market or something.
Totally.
And we would just have to set up and play. And they'd be like, we don't know who you are. Oh, Jimmy said that. No, we haven't spoken to Jimmy. Okay, well, I guess we'll just set up and play.
Yeah.
And there'd be some kids there and we'd just play.
That's crazy, man. That's really cutting your teeth out there, man.
Yeah.
Like that's so insane to me. Like, I'm just like, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah. No, it was real guerrilla.
It was just so different. it was just such a different time. Like the music industry shifts so much. So what was that 2007? You said 2007, 2008.
No, this tour was 2009, 2010.
Everything was just shifting right there. Social media was really starting to pop.
Yeah.
And yeah, so bizarre, so wild.
Yeah.
I just think of all this, like trying to book a tour now. I know how I book tours now, but I don't know how I could have done it like in 2005 even. I feel like it was such a different time. That's still like calling the venue. You know?
Yeah. I've cold called venues and it's like, I hate doing that.
Yeah,
shit.
man. I'm glad we don't do that.
I hate it.
Just ignore my email. It feels better.
Like this, the guys that can get ahead, or at least in that environment where people who are able to do just ruthless self-promotion, and respect to that, because obviously as an artist you just want to create and express it to fans and people and win over people, and you don't want to be like your own booking agent, your own manager, and the degree to which you can just do that is kind of a degree that you can be successful.
Yeah, it's definitely harder when you have to wear all the hats.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I'm the booking agent. Like I booked the national tour and it took me like 6 months. Like it was just so much work. And that's why booking agents, they have a job. Well, they still have a job, I think, right?
Yeah.
As soon as these venues open up again, man. But,
well, then there's that weird gray area where managers can't technically book shows, but sometimes they do. And
and it was like the tail end of the pay to play stuff. Like Velvet even did pay to play.
Oh, I was listening
while.
to your podcast with the two guys from Foxygen.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the pay to play system at the Whiskey.
Yeah. I did that too. Yeah, I did that too. Yeah.
There was so the Whiskey A Go Go,
iconic.
Because we all came up like reading about shows at the Whiskey A Go Go, about how the Doors played there, the Mothers of Invention played there, and people would get signed out of there right up through
Zeppelin's
the 80s.
First U.S. show.
Yeah. And so it's got this magical place, and they cynically know that and exploit that. So it would be, when I played there in like 2006, 2007, we would be on the same bill as other out of town bands with stars in their eyes, just like us. And it would be this scam where it'd be like, all right, you need to buy X amount of tickets, but you can sell them to your friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, they would give you too many tickets. Like I can't sell 80 tickets necessarily to people that are going to drive down to LA to come see the show. And then we'd be on the bill with like a metal band from San Luis Obispo.
Yep.
And then the next thing would be like a folk band from wherever the fuck. So it'd be, you get these weird shows, and they had the system set up to where it's like, you're essentially paying to play because you can't sell all the tickets. And then they're like, oh, by the way, do you want a DVD?
Yeah.
Pay another $50. And they have that set up. So it's kind of like this scam that would just, no A&R people, like I talked to like record label people, no A&R person back then would be caught dead in the Whiskey A Go Go, because if you're like cool and hip, you're going to be at some Silver Lake, venue. You're not going to be playing there. So, and I remember the sound guy was like this guy named Jetlag. That was his name.
Yeah, they always have funny names like
that. he would like sell drugs and stuff on the side. And they had this whole scam going. But, people, as young guys, we just wanted to play there because it was the place that all our heroes played at.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was very brutal. Same thing, metal band, solo act. All right, Dante, you close it out. Fuck, why? Remember, we're playing like almost at midnight. It's like all of our friends fucking left. They just wanted to support. And it's just so brutal, man. And that happened a little bit in Santa Barbara around that time too. And there's this one promoter in town. It's funny because I'm one of his assistants or his partner in the thing. I met her later as when I started Dante. And she's like, oh, I used to work for, I guess I'll say his name, John Avila with Groove International. It's like the promoter in Camarillo. And I looked at her, I said, fuck that guy and fuck you too if you worked for him. She's like, I was like, he took advantage of hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
Like just who wanted to play Velvet Jones. And Velvet Jones like, yeah, whatever, if these kids don't tickets, like
Velvet Jones was a slimy place. And they used to roofie people there.
What?
Yeah.
I never heard
I've
that.
heard multiple stories of people getting roofied there.
Damn. Yeah, I never saw any of that.
I just worked a flea bag venue. Fuck Velvet Jones.
I worked at Velvet Jones the last couple years. and it was fun. It was a lot of learning of how a venue operates, but it's hard. It's hard, and I like Craig, and I won't say anything bad about those people, but like it's really hard when you don't notice a change, from 90s pop punk to like what's popular and what bands to book. I noticed that there's a difference in that creative thinking of how to book bands that will sell actual tickets.
When I was coming up, the people that sold the most tickets were white reggae.
Yeah.
College bands like Iration.
Yeah.
Revolution.
Dude, I almost played a party in IV with Iration with my high school band. Yeah.
And it's like I like reggae music, but it's almost like white rap where and again it goes back to like if you're putting on an affectation or a strange accent when you sing, it's like you're like a middle class white kid from Santa Barbara and you're like, "Hear me now."
Yeah.
Turn to and you're like, "What? You're a fucking poser." But they do really well in this like triangle of like Southern California, Hawaii, it's like
Totally.
San Diego, maybe LA, Orange County, Hawaii, Santa Barbara.
Yep.
They kill it. They sell so many tickets, or they used to. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah.
And, again, it's like you can't knock them because they're working hard, they're making money, and they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I just may not necessarily like it. But
It was that and metal bands. Like Tiger's Gonna say, we played with a lot of metal bands, like 2004 to 2007 when we were active.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I was like, damn, this is really hard, man. Like to find bands that just aren't playing metal and grindcore and whatnot.
Well, because we have a lot of the same influences, like listening to your stuff. Like I know you like a lot of Motown, Stax, Talking Heads.
Talking Heads. I love the Pixies. I love Pavement. Those are big bands for me.
Pavement, awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear that song? I was listening to some of your stuff and I was like, have you ever heard of Orange Juice?
Yeah, I love that's like one of my favorite bands.
No, I can love that too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I just want to say thanks for being on the podcast. And yeah, man, what's the best way for people to support you right now?
Just check me out on Bandcamp or Spotify or YouTube. Will Loomis, and it's Loomis. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hell yeah, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Let's jam.